ahead. Turn it around. You go. So they say 42. Huh? So we be turning 42. Oh, thank you, Juju. Juju was recording his. Joel was recording his fingers. Hey guys, what it is June the 6th. This is the day after my birthday, my 40th birthday. It's a whole mix of emotions. Is I don't know. At least I'm not as bad as I was at 30. I'm okay with getting older. It's just I don't feel like I'm where I want it to be by this point in life. And getting to 40 is such a long stretch of time that you start to believe that, there's just not enough time to even try to get to where you want it to be in life. So I don't know. I'm bittersweet today. Yesterday, my nephew was supposed to take me to Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. He says we're the same age. He's 04 and I'm 40. So he wanted to take me out to Chuck E. Cheese. We didn't quite make it to Chuck E. Cheese because my cousin, D_Almighty Mac, took me out to Chili's. And that was really nice. He got the cake and he paid for our food and all of that stuff. So thank you, D_Almighty Mac. Besides that, to yesterday, I'm sorry, not today. My birthday also was supposed to be my wedding day, but due to the things that went on when I went to visit my husband the last time, which I had recorded a video about it and I was trying to get it out because if there is anybody that can help me, I really would like to receive help if I can. But, I couldn't get that video out. It is very challenging trying to be a YouTuber. I'm not sure how much longer I will, attempt to do it because it just is not working for me. I'm putting in a lot of hours. You wouldn't even believe how many hours. Just like yesterday, I recorded a 22-minute video, and the video was just telling you what happened because I didn't tell exactly what happened, but I'm feeling like my options are getting fewer and fewer. And if I just tell you, then possibly somebody can help me. But the thing is that I made a 22-minute video and it refuses to upload. So I can't do anything to it. I can't get it into my software to edit. I can't just upload it and release it. I can't do anything. And every time I try to do something, things like this happen. I tried to take the video and airdrop it to my computer. For some reason, they won't pair at all. Then I tried to airdrop, which worked for me last time, to airdrop the video to my sister's phone and then upload it from there. It worked on one video and it will not work again. I tried to airdrop to my nephew's phone. There's no service in the house. I tried to back up all my stuff to iCloud. I bought more iCloud storage and tried to back up the service all my pictures and videos to iCloud so I could just pull them off. That's not working. Nothing is working. It is very frustrating, but it goes back to I released a video a while back. I'll link it in the description, but this is the picture from the video. And I remember I was at my lunch break at work, and it was a guy. They said he was a prophet, and he told me there's a dark cloud over my head. Like I'm just eating lunch, and he's like, "There's a dark cloud over your head." And honestly, I think that's what it is. Like, no matter what I try to do, it won't become prosperous because there's something that stops it and blocks it before it can be mine. It's almost in every part of my life, and I've grown accustomed to just not having things because whatever it is blocks it and takes it before I can have it. So I've been accustomed to not having anything that I want, and not, I've always been accustomed to the worst happening, because usually the worst is what happens, whether I believe for the positive. And that's where people get me wrong. They think I'm just a negative person. I'm very much not a negative person. I think I'm more positive than the next, which sounds ironic, because the reason I say that is, if I was negative about something and just knew something wouldn't work, why would I try it? Why would I put the energy into trying it? You can look at my track record out of all the things I have tried in my life. There's no way a negative person can fall as many times as I fail and keep dusting themselves off and trying again. But though I try again wholeheartedly, I pray, I ask God to guide me, and I still fail. So I'm to the point where I don't have any answers. The only answer that seems reasonable is that this is what's kind of meant for me. So I'm in a point of acceptance and just accepting, I am where I am, and that's where I'm going to be. So just, I got to be able to start trying to be happy here. And the reason I wasn't happy here is not because I'm ungrateful or anything, because I know the usual. It can be worse, which it kind of usually does get worse. But I know it can be worse. So I'm not ungrateful. It's just that it's almost like when someone tries something and it works, it strengthens that thought that, oh, I can do this and it works. So I can do that and it works. And it strengthens them in that manner. But when a person does something and it doesn't work, I did this and it doesn't work. Okay, I try again. It could have been one time. I do this and it doesn't work. Okay, I'll try again. Eventually that person gets strengthened in the way that I can try what I try, do what I do, work as hard as I can, and I won't get any good results because this is what my track record has shown. And that's what my track record unfortunately shows. I've discovered that the world is opposite of what you put out. They tell us that if we put out good things will come back to us. I've done good by people. I've done the right thing, and I continually get, bad things happen. They tell you that anything is achievable if you just work hard and stay at it. I have stayed at things and worked extremely hard, and didn't happen. So I'm just at a point where I no longer know how to believe anything. I don't know how to get out of the hole I'm in because I've been here so long, and despite all my efforts, I haven't rose to the top, out of that hole. So I'm clueless. I'm going to tell you for real. I'm very much clueless. I don't know what to do. But I try to accept where I'm at and be happy, which you know, it pretty much is what it is. It goes back to remembering my mother's words. Anytime I would have trouble, and it could be a big problem, the advice she would always give me is, Kita, that's life. And that's true. That's life. Life is going to throw you some odd balls, and you just have to, accept it because that's life. But, anyways, besides it being my birthday, it was supposed to be my wedding day. Me and Marchello were supposed to get married. We had filled out the application for marriage. I was in the process of finding the marriage license. The chaplain was just asking us which date we wanted, and that was it. and he wanted to get married on my birthday, June the 5th. Unfortunately, the visitation that I came to see him right after, due to retaliation from him writing a grievance on a guard, they took action against me and got our visits canceled. Um, the guard laughed and said it was indefinitely and it's all over the state of Florida and sent me on my merry way. Besides that, on June the 4th, my husband's whole facility went on lockdown. There's no answers as to why they're on lockdown. So, had that not happened, it still would have been a no go because the facility would have been on lockdown. So, I'm to the point where I can always expect that everything will be, intercepted. And one day, I will regain my confidence and regain trying again. And pretty much the same thing most likely will happen. But I don't know. I don't for me, I think the best thing would be for me to just get somewhere and sit down and stop trying because it's not happening. It's like at a certain point, why can't I understand that the answer is no? You and Marcello, under no circumstances, under no, in no way, can be together. If I can get that through my thick skull, then I think I would be okay. And what's so funny is that me and Marcello barely met each other. We barely met. And sometimes I think back and I wonder, why did we meet? There was no reason for us to meet because he was on his way to prison forever. And to be honest with you, I was about to join the army. So we were headed in two different directions. Um, Honestly, I didn't want to meet him. I had just broke up with somebody that, dang, which boyfriend did I break up with? Because I had a lot of boyfriends back in the day. Wait, who was it? Oh, yeah, it was this crazy one from Miami that I was just with, and he was like a liar or whatever. So I just wanted to party, have fun, live my life, and not worry about, any man. Because it was like the situations that I had in my past, it was like they'll be with you, but eventually, just give it a moment, they'll be cheating on you. And nobody seen like they didn't see my worth. Everything was exterior based. They If they see a prettier girl, they're going after that prettier girl. It didn't matter like what was on the inside. They didn't want too much of anything. And I just got accustomed to that. So I'm like, I really don't even want to be with anybody. I just want to live my life. I had just started college, I believe, just enrolled. I was working. I had the time of my life at my job. I was young, cute. I used to love to get phone numbers and flirt with people, but I didn't want nothing more. And that was fun. Just go out to the club, flirt, maybe go out to a dinner or whatever, and that's it. That's all I wanted. I was living my best life back then. But it was this one girl. She was going with my cousin. They still were in high school. So they wanted to go on a date, but they were told they could not go on that date because they were too young. So because of that, my cousin asked me, because I was of age, I think I was 18, asked me to go with them to chaperone. So I'm like, I don't want to just watch y'all go on some date. That's crazy. That sounded crazy. So the girl that he was going with was like, well, what if I bring somebody for you? And I'm like, nah, I really don't want to. So she brings me her uncle anyway. She brings her uncle, and I guess her uncle was about my age. And we went to a city walk or whatever. We went out. I had a really good time, to be honest, with her uncle. I really had a good time. So I'm like, okay, well. I kind of like him. And the next time I was supposed to see him, I go to his house and he won't answer the door. I'm like, what the heck? He will not answer the door. And I'm thinking that he's at home. Eventually, it comes out that he had a girlfriend. Again, like, why don't they just be honest from the beginning? Just be honest. So he has a girlfriend. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever. Back to my plan A, which was to just live my life, go out. I don't need a man. I'm cool. Well, she tries to hook me up again. I'm like, girl, look, I am not a basket case. I don't need a man. Would you please just stop? I'm fine. And she's like, no, there's this guy at church. He's the perfect guy for you. I don't understand why people feel the need to hook up the single person. Sometimes the single person wants to be single, but that's how they are. She wanted to hook me up. I'm like, girl, look, I don't want. Okay, so this guy that she tried to hook me up with at her church. Yeah. Wait, Jewel, I'm recording. I'll be in there in a minute. My phone is in granddad room. I want you to turn it up. Huh? I want you to turn it up. Okay, ask Kristen or ask Man. They don't want you to do what? Well, I knew it was just a matter of time before he interrupted. That's why I'm trying to hurry up and get this video out before, because once he gets started, that's pretty much it. So it was a guy at her church, and to be honest, he just wasn't my type. I wasn't into him. It wasn't nothing. So I'm like, I'm good. I'm still having fun. I used to work at Went Dixie at the time, and we had a little coupon bag. That coupon bag used to be full of numbers, phone numbers. Like almost every guy that came through my checkout line wanted my phone number. But I wouldn't give out my phone number except for to who I really like. So I would just take their number or whatever. So I was getting numbers like left and right. So I was cool. I did not need her help. I don't know why she thought I needed help. I did not. But, anyways, so that didn't happen. So one day it was after school and she calls me and she's like, girl, can you come pick me up? And I'm like, okay, so, all right, where are you at? And she's like, girl, please come get me. I'm at my cousin's house. And I'm like, okay. So she said, and my cousin wants to meet you. I'm like, no, no, I do not want to meet anybody. I said, I will pick you up, but I do not want to meet nobody. No, tell him no. And she was like, girl, but he wants to meet you. And I'm like, look, he don't even know what I look like. No, no, I don't want to meet anybody. So she says, okay, well, that's fine. She says, well, just please come pick me up. Just come pick me up, and that's all right. I'll tell him never mind. I go pick her up. Now, I remember this. I had on a black dress, this little tiny black dress, because I was really skinny at that time. But I had a lot of butt and stuff. I was really skinny. I had on this black short dress, and it had like this one white stripe that goes around the center of the dress, like around the waist, and that same white stripe would trim like the neckline. So I had that on, and I had on some brown shoes. It was those earthy like shoes. They had the thick bottoms. They were made like flip flops, but they had that little thick sole. Like it didn't match at all because back then I was the fashionista. So this is just my running stuff on. So I have this on. I honk the horn, girl, come out, and she's like, oh no, wait. She has when I pull up, she has this guy sitting on a car in the driveway. I'm like, okay, so let me just pick her up and get out of here because I already told her. She comes to me and she's like, hey, this is my cousin. He wants to meet you. And I'm like, girl, didn't I tell you I don't want to meet nobody? So she brings me out the car. Lo and behold, this is Marcello sitting on this car. This is Marcello. He has these dreads like shoulder length. He's brown skinned. He has on these baggy jeans and he has on a white tee. Oh, he was so cute. But I'm like, no, no. Every red flag popped up for me. He is definitely the type that has 4 and 5 girlfriends somewhere. So no, nope, we good. Come on, get up in this car. Let's go. And she's like, no, get out and talk to him. Oh my goodness, girl, look, I told you I didn't want to talk to nobody. Please, please. So she gets me out the car and we're talking but not talking. You know how you're just kind of just standing there and nobody's saying anything and you know, they expect you to talk, but you're not really saying too much of anything. That's what was happening. And then all of a sudden, he gets off the car and goes in the house. I said, oh, that's my cue to leave. This boy do not like me. I'm not even his type. Like, he done left and got off this car and went inside. So it's like, come on, let's go. Let's get out of here. And she's like, no, wait till he comes back out. I'm like, girl, look, the boy does not like me. I am not the type to just throw myself onto somebody. So she's like, yes, he does like you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So he comes back out and she's like, okay, y'all just switch, phone numbers or whatever. And we switch phone numbers. Of course, I'm not calling him, but he calls me. From that point that he called me, oh my goodness, he was so different from any man that I ever met. The conversation was different. The interaction was different. I will rumble on and ramble and talk for hours. And he actually listened. He would tell you everything I said. He actually listened. He was so sweet. But the thing was that I wouldn't be with him. We would hang out or whatever. I had two boyfriends at the time. I did know they were twins. That's a different story. But I had two boyfriends. So he was not my boyfriend. Marcello was not my boyfriend. He was just my friend. And we would we would hang out, but it was like to the point where I wanted to hang out with Marcello way more than I wanted to hang out with my boyfriend. In which the boyfriend, he actually started to notice that, every time I come see him, I'm never, I had to run and this and that. And it was like I really started falling for Marcello and I seen less and less of the boyfriend until finally we kind of broke it off. But I still wouldn't be with Marcello. Marcello used to ask me if I was going to be his girlfriend, and I would say no. No. I become your girlfriend, everything is messed up. We're just homeboy, homegirl. Before I left him, I would give him a little dap. If y'all don't know what dap is, that's when you put your fist out and they hit the top of your fist and you hit the bottom of their fist and stuff like that. That's how I would that's our leaving greeting. I would give him dap. And he was like, stop playing, give me a hug. And I'm like, no, homeboy, we just homeboy, homegirl, whatever. So he kept asking me, are you gonna be my girlfriend? I'm sorry, Marcella, I don't want nothing more. I can't be your girl. And he kept asking me until one day he said, I'm gonna ask you one last time. After this time, I promise I won't ask you again. He said, are you going to be my girlfriend? And that last time, I told him, yeah. I told him, yeah. Really, what you don't know is that at that point in time, I was, I had took the entry level exam for the army and stuff like that. So I was heading in that direction. I think that was actually before I started college, to be honest with you then. And then he was not even supposed to he's from South Carolina. He came down here. He was visiting his grandmother, and he was ultimately said heading to Washington to live with another aunt or something. So he wasn't even staying here. So it's like our paths crossed, but just a little bit off, we could have missed each other. And I always think about, so what if I never went to pick Erica up? Of course, the only good thing that came out of me and Marcello is our daughter, money. I wouldn't trade money for anything. Even though she's a sour patch at sometimes. I call her my sour patch dog. She's sweet and then she's sour. Ugh. But I still wouldn't trade her. But ultimately, the only good thing that basically came out of me and Marcello meeting is her. Other than that, I'm starting to believe that I met Marcello because I had never knew real love before. Never knew real love before. And when you've never had real love, people aspire to it, but if you never receive it, you don't know what it is. See, I kind of think Marcello was put in my life because all my life I searched for love. I was always the outcast. I was always bullied. I was the black sheep of the family. I was always separated and off on my own and stuff like that. Didn't have many friends, still don't have many friends. Um so I never really knew true love. I never really thought an individual cared about me. So to not know love, you aspire to it, but like I said, you don't know what it is. When I met Marcello, I experienced real love. I experienced an individual that cared about me for me, did not care what I looked like on the outside, did not care about all the imperfections I have, whether physically or just me as an individual, did not care about any of those. He loved me for just existing. He loved me. And I never met somebody so caring, so kind, so attentive. Now I know that feeling of love. I know how it feels to be loved. See, all my life up to that point, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what love was. I never experienced it. But when I experienced it, now I enjoy being loved. I want to be loved. I know how it feels. And I know that now I've experienced love and I want to hold on to it. Well, now that you've experienced it, is going to be snatched away from you. After experiencing that love with Marcello for, I would say, a year and a half to 2 years, the man that I thought that I would be with forever was forever snatched away from me. And no matter what I did, I could never have him. Before he went to prison, we did have a daughter. She was kind of unexpected or whatever. But, we still were going to raise her with all the love, all the, we talked about all the things we were going to do together and how we were going to be a family. When I told him that I thought I was pregnant and he paused, I'm thinking he's going to say, we were walking around the block. And when I told him I possibly could be pregnant, this boy stopped where we were walking. He bent down on his knee and he started rubbing my stomach. And he was like, I'm going to be a father? And I'm like, like kind of puzzled, like look on my face. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be a father. He's like, what? I'm going to be a father. He was so excited. He was so excited. When we went to our first, you know, the first scheduled appointment with the doctor, and the doctor automatically hand the sonograms to me, he got offended. He's like, What? I'm the father. Why didn't you hand me a sonogram? I want to. He was so involved. He wanted nothing more than to be with his family. And though money was coming first, we still were planning to get married. We still wanted to get married. It's just I was living with my parents and he was still living with his grandmother. We get married, but we don't have any place to go together. So we were in the process of I'm trying to work, more jobs, and he's trying to work, and we're trying to raise money. Well, in the middle of all of that, this situation happens. He was wrongfully convicted and excessively sentenced, and he was taken away. To be honest with you, when this first happened, Marcello told me to leave him. He told me to leave him. He said, I can't drag you through this. This is too much. You don't deserve to have to wait like this. You can't wait on me. Just leave. Just leave. You don't deserve this. And I made that decision. I was like, I can't leave him. That was my heart. I can't just leave him. Nobody else was fighting for him. Pretty much was the only one fighting. Nobody else believed him. So I stayed. But I can tell you that I never knew that I would be waiting for him for, though the judge sentenced him to 40 years, I still didn't think I would be waiting for him for 20 years because I knew in my heart whenever I was going to do whatever it took to get up the money for an appeal or to get his story out. And it was just only a matter of time. I would have thought maybe 5 years at the most. 5 years at the most that I would be waiting for Marcello. And I would get up that money for that lawyer and I would get his story out. If I only knew what I know today. Kita, it's not going to be 5 years. You're going to fight for 20 years and you're not going to make any impacts and you're not going to gain enough support. You're going to gain a little support, but this mountain is huge. It won't be enough support to move this mountain. So you will fight. You will fight. You will work hard. You will do all you can in your power, and you will not move a step forward. You will get tired. You will get weary. You will lose your faith. You will lose your willpower. And all in all, you'll never move closer to getting Marcello home. He's actually much further than he's ever been from home. So I can't have my husband free. All right. I'm always a person that tries to figure something else. Well, I have to settle with being with my husband in prison. Just very hard, but at times it got a little easier. For almost 7 years, he was close to the house, and it just felt like, I was going to see him on the weekend at his house or whatever because it was every single weekend. The visits were more freer. It wasn't all that horrible, all over you type visit where the guards are just staring you down and all over your behind. It wasn't that uncomfortableness. It was a regular visit. I can talk to him as many times as I wanted to a day because it was 50 cents a call. And I thought that at that point, the worst was behind us. He's closer to home because when they first send him to prison, they start out far away and they were way closer to home. He's closer to home, so it's easier, and I just have to be happy here. This is what it is. And in 2016, that's the point I was at. I was okay. I knew that he wouldn't be coming home no time soon. He still had another 25 or so more years at that point. I knew that for us to be together, it was going to only be through prison visits. And, I let go my dream to want more kids. I wanted 5 kids. I know I'm getting older. I know that his sentence is too long to withstand, so I know I won't have any more kids. I let that go. Then you know how most people want houses and stuff like that, their dream house. I don't want a dream house. I don't have a family to put in a dream house. I don't want that. I let that go. I pretty much let every dream that I ever wanted, I pretty much let it go and settled for an alternative, because no matter how I try, I don't get closer to that dream. So I was fine just visiting him on the weekend for, I guess, the next 25 years. And it found a way to get worse. He was transferred then to maximum security. That facility where he was at, it was too laid back, and everybody knew that. So they had people coming from the north. See, a lot of the guards and people from the north, they're the ones that don't kind of like black people. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not an excuse, but they just don't like black people, and it's more racially tension in the North Florida than when you get towards the middle to southern regions. It's less racial stress. That place he was at, there really was no racial stress, because you had all types of, you had more black officers than anything, and they weren't all over you. They were laid back, and people did not like that. So they had a lot of people coming from the north trying to get them, down here so that they can make the facilities down here very similar to the ones that are in the north that don't, you know, are not partial to African Americans or people of different ethnicities. Which I hate that we already have to be in prison, but we have to also be still hated because of, nobody can prevent being black. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being black. I love being black. But with that said, I was born black. It was nothing I could have done to alter it. But a lot of us are hated just because of what we are, who we are. There's no way that I could have been anything else than a black woman. There's no possible way I could have been born anything else but a black woman. Marcello couldn't have been born nothing but a black man. Now we do have the opportunity to become the best black woman and best black man we can, which I've tried to excel to that point. I really have. I have tried tooth and nail. I had a perfect example in my mother, a very great black woman, excellent black woman. So we can't stop ourselves from being black. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody that don't like black people, we can't stop it. We're black. And our offspring is going to be black. But a lot of us are not as bad as you think. We're not as horrible as you think. We're not looking for handouts all the time like you think. We're hard workers like you don't think. We try to do for our own selves like you don't think. So they were trying to move more of that mentality down here so that it can be the same oppression. Prison is oppressive anyway, but they want it to be more geared towards oppression for certain people like me, just like me. And that place became ridiculous. And he was transferred out of there to maximum. So he wasn't transferred to maximum. I'm sorry. He was transferred to another camp, but it was way up. It was going back up the peninsula. And when he got to that camp, they don't like people like me. Not at all. Not at all. Not in the least bit. When Marcello first started working there, he was in the sun, and I was concerned because he has the vitiligo spots. And I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be protected in the sun because he doesn't have his melanin in those areas. So I'm like, what about if or is there a way to get sunscreen? So I was trying to work with, calling his classification officer. Is there a way that he can get sunscreen and seeing what we can do? And he comes back and tells me, Keita, don't worry about it. I'm not working. I'm never going back out there. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what's the problem? He told me that the guard he was working for told him that he does not like black men. And he is not going to have no black men working on his crew. That place is very much against black people. So ironically enough, Marchello being a black man, something happens and he's transferred to maximum security. Let me tell you, before all this, Marchello had almost, what was it, 7 to 8 years, 9 years, DR free. Marchello was up in his late 20s, 30s. Jewel, I'm still.
Come out, open it.
I'm still.
I'm eating boiled egg.
Oh, wow.
Do you want some?
I'll get some when I'm finished recording.
All right.
Marchello had a few years of, like 9 years. It was a long shot. I have to ask him specifically. No DRs. And you know how easy it is to get a DR written up. None. Marchello was close to home. Marcello's behavior was excellent because he was seeing his family all the time, every weekend, talking to his family as much as he wanted to. And he did not want to jeopardize that. All of a sudden, this man, well up in his age, he was 35, I believe, at the time, 36, 35 or 36. All of a sudden, this man is up here fighting. It didn't make sense. I fought it, and I fought it, and I fought it alone. I was like, there's no way that he can be transferred back up and go to maximum. So he already left this area, transferred back up the peninsula. Then he still had a good adjustment transfer because he had nothing on his record. But they were taking the longest time to transfer him back down. Then all of a sudden, quote unquote, this big thing jumps off that really had nothing to do with Marchello. But Marchello is transferred out, and the guard says he doesn't want any black people working for him. Mostly black people were transferred out of there. Just about most of them were black. So now he's in maximum security. It gets even worse. Wow. I'm like, when is it gonna come back this way instead of going that way? Like, it's like a freight train that's out of control, that's headed in the wrong direction and will not stop. He goes to maximum security. Never been in a max prison. Never. He's in max now. They visit on Thursdays and Fridays. It was Thursday at first and then Friday. Very completely hard for me because I worked overnight. I didn't get sleep. I would get a 30-minute nap in the parking lot before going to visitation. I drove far as ever, but it was only a 2-hour visitation. But the first year and something of him even being in max, you can't even have a visitor. So I wasn't able to visit him, and I believe he had 1 call a month. 1 call a month. Then it walked down to 2 calls a month. Every 2 weeks he can call once. If I miss his call, I miss his call. And I could visit him twice behind a glass again. All them years, we're back behind a glass. My daughter was a baby when we visited behind that glass. And when she came as a big teenager, and she was like, this is crazy. All she knew was what I told her about visiting behind the glass. But now she actually gets the opportunity to visit her father behind the glass. And she was like, it looks like they have animals in cages. That's what it looks like you're walking into a pound and they're the puppies that's at the window jumping and happy to see you. She said that's what it looks like. He finally gets from off of the CM1, CM2. He walks his way down to CM3. He gets off of CM3 and the shutdown happened. He's now stuck in CM3, though he's not labeled CM3. He still gets no activities. He's still not getting the visitations. He had the same visitation every other week, but at this point it became a contact visitation. So it was 2 hours contact visitation. I'm still driving, getting off of work, no sleep, driving far, 2 hours, doesn't matter. That's my husband, and I'm going to see him, and all this is worth that 2 hour. I used to get from there and could barely make it home. I could barely make it home. I could barely stay awake. I was stopping at every gas station, putting my life in danger, sleeping at the gas station to try to get back home. And a lot of times when I got back home, I had to turn around and clock back in to work. But I kept saying, it can get better. It's going to get better. No, 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 honey. It got worse. It got worse. Finally, during the pandemic, they start back transferring the people that are incarcerated there, transferring them. So yes, maybe he's going to be closer now, and we're going to go to a full. So I'm thinking it could get better. He could be closer. Most likely they're going to send him closer because he's been, he's done all his time up in the panhandle and up the peninsula. So there's no reason for them. They transfer him, and guess where he's put? Far as far can be. Almost to where it was like they wanted to put him out of Florida. He's on the edge of Alabama. He's in Florida, but right across the street is Alabama. 6.5 hours away from home. He's never, when I go to see him, I drive past that first facility he was at that was already 5 hours and some away. But I was a 20-year-old girl that was driving 6.5 hours with no sleep as a almost 40-year-old woman. Now I'm 40 years old, but I can't visit anymore. Driving that far, no sleep. I got to leave again at 1 in the morning to get up there. Driving that far, I get almost to visitation the first time. And I get a call when I'm an hour away saying, go back home because your husband unit is on quarantine. I wait 2 weeks. They get off of quarantine. I schedule another visit. All I want to do is see my husband. That's all I want to do. Get up there. They process me in. And because a guard had a vendetta against my husband, they accused me of something. This was the video I tried to record and release to you. So eventually I might get it off, so I won't go too far into it. But they accused me of something, and they tell me with a smile that your visits are canceled indefinitely, and it's all over the state of Florida. Now, at this point, this is how I raised my daughter. This is all we have besides the $4 a call. $4 every time he calls. So can you figure how many times he can call? He can't call me that often because it's $4 a call. $4 adds up. So we have that. We had visitation where I would have to stress myself out, do above and beyond, but I would do it just to see him. But now we don't even have that. All we have is expensive $4 a call. How much relationship do we even really have now? Then when my birthday came, the one person I would have definitely got a call from the wee hours, like as soon as they cut the phones on, would have been Marchello. But they're on lockdown, which I think is something bogus behind that too, because this is the first week that they go back to regular visitations. But No one can never put two and two together. They never seem to be able to do that. But so I didn't even get that call from him. No wedding, no nothing. So now you tell me, when I finally gather myself and I start thinking that it can get better, let me know what worse is going to happen. Because it's not a lot more worse that can happen in this situation. All right, as soon as I get that video out, I have tried and tried and tried. Cannot get the video off of the device. I'm about to the point where I just honestly I'm gonna eventually. I've been praying about it. I want God to give me that strength to just let things go. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to, I started YouTube and it's clearly not developing like it should, but I don't know how to just let it go. And that was the same with my music, though you know, my music wasn't moving forward, it hurt me to let it go. But, good enough, I was able to finally let that go. So I do pray that I'm able to let this YouTube go. I have put my all into it for a year and it's not really progressing. It's progressing at a snail's pace. And I guess there's something else in life I'm supposed to be doing. So, all right, guys. It's your girl Cadillac.
It's a Cadillac.